Call the August 13th CUB Board of Directors meeting to order. Mr. McBride is not here this evening. He's out with his wife, which is great. We'll open with our public comment session. Ms. Delaney, do you want to come and speak?
I do.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's been a minute, but I've had my eye on all of you.
Thank you for that.
So I'm here tonight because I heard a rumor that you all would be voting on a $31,000 pay raise for Mr. Fay tonight. And because I don't spread rumors, I came here to make sure that I either heard wrong or there was a misunderstanding. You all have elderly people with box fans in their windows because they can't afford their bills. Meanwhile, Mr. Fay goes home to a house with a gun range and a movie theater built in. Currently, the only assistance program offered by CUB is customer funded, and we're debt free, just about. So let's take the 30-something thousand dollar raise proposal and add it to the money that TVA pays us for our power each month, which was around $75,000 the last time I looked into it. And let's do something meaningful in this community because we're all suffering in a recession right now. And we need to focus and reprioritize some things in the city. There are a few up here tonight that will be held to the flame for your votes if this is going up for vote tonight. You all have my word, and you're aware I'm good for it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Delaney.
Yep.
Thank you. Do you have any comments tonight? Okay.
Are we voting on that tonight, or was it a rumor?
Nothing on the agenda tonight.
I know it's not on the agenda.
There's nothing on the agenda tonight.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll be watching it, and I'll be
Yes, ma'am.
checking in.
Sounds good.
So,
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. Let's do the approval of minutes, please.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will, I do see that the CBiz folks are on the phone. So I think we'll go ahead and slide them in here into the meeting tonight. As discussed, I sent you all that information out via email. My intent, Jimmy asked about this today. He texted me when he's gone. My intent was not to vote on that tonight. I thought it was not good form to send it out the night before and then have have some kind of vote or if we were going to or not. So I just wanted to have the kind of discussion so y'all could see the information, digest it, have a month, and we can come back and talk about it next month.
Some clarifications.
Yes,
My understanding was last meeting the motion failed.
Correct.
For additional raise. We're talking about next year.
We were talking about the 2026-2027 year. So this current fiscal year going into so that whatever we decide would then be evaluated at the end of this fiscal year, retrospectively looking back. Correct.
And then the other thing I was going to just make a comment, like the two emails, one came at 6:36, one came at almost 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then last month's email from CBiz came the night before the meeting.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to discuss the general
Totally
manager's salary, we need at least a week to
Totally agree with you.
digest.
And that's what Jimmy's comment was, and I totally agree with you. And that's we were trying to get it out, and timing was not perfect. And so, and part of it, I'll just tell you what I do. I like to look at it personally and see it, so I can kind of make sure I understand it and I have clear questions, hopefully for the group. But then I wanted y'all to have what I had, and then Kevin sent a new package last minute, sent the updated with his own email, and so that's why I forwarded on. So that's why you got two groupings of email like that. But I agree. The timing of us trying to bring something a day, 2 days, unless there's just some sense of urgency or requirement that we get in. Totally agree with you. That's a very fair comment. Jimmy said the same thing. I completely agree with you. So.
And then I noticed some of the emails, and again, this is always awkward because it's, but Greg and Todd are copied on the emails
Correct.
Before the board is, and we would be the one voting on that information.
Correct.
I think that if they have to be copied, I think the board should be as well, because we would be the decision-making arm
correct.
Of that, and they're getting information before we have.
Yeah, and so obviously Kevin has to get information from somewhere.
Yeah.
And so Todd sends the information there, and we have an exchange, and that's why I sent you the email so that you can see my comments and questions back in red. But it's purely for information, just so there's not an overlap that the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, particularly since it's a public activity.
If we get copied on that?
Yeah, I can do that. That's not a problem. Yeah, I guess how much do you all want to have me vet information as the board chair before it gets here? Because I'm trying to help facilitate stuff so that we don't have 5 different emails with 5 different directions. That's why I'm trying to help facilitate it. So, but I'm open to the feedback however y'all want me to handle it.
Yeah, I think as long as we get it, I'm okay with it. I don't know that I have a preference. I would just throw out the Open Meetings Act just to make sure that we're not discussing anything over the email.
Correct. Yeah, that's part of the hesitation I've had about. I think, and somebody help me here on the regulatory side of this. I think I can have that interaction, ask questions, and probe. But I think you're right. I think we started having a bunch of people on the emails, and we started deliberating over those.
Now, we
I
can't
think
make
that's where the
decisions.
line. So I'm fine copying it. But if y'all are fine copying, and I'll just keep asking questions in the role that I've got, then that way we keep the ball rolling. But Mr. Crowley?
Well, according to the Sunshine Law, we're not allowed to discuss things outside of this meeting. Any of us members are not allowed to discuss things that would be coming up in a meeting prior to a meeting.
Okay.
So I don't know if that includes email or not, but it seems like it would. That's a discussion. It's a written discussion, but
I mean, just to be
I would
safe,
think-
I'd stay.
I would think like if you send an email out and I send one back and you and I start back and forth,
Agreed.
then I think
No, I agree.
we've already violated.
I would agree with you.
I don't mind it coming like this, and you'll never rush me to vote anything. So
Correct.
I'm in agreement with you.
I agree. Yeah.
You know,
What if the
We should
the
get it.
email last night, was it wrong to get that email then?
Well, I guess
To
I'll
me, getting information is different than
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
getting a thread going of, I don't like this or I like that.
that's clearly
I
wrong.
think that's what we have to be careful about, but information sharing.
back and forth, I think is what would be wrong.
Correct.
Is my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I guess
I'm in no hurry about it.
I think we're fine. That's why I mainly just wanted to have it out for tonight's meeting was the main reason. But I do think, and it might be good just for all of us. I agree on the sunshine question. It might be good, Greg, just for us to know whether or not we've got, if we can copy people off on that.
I don't think the problem is the copy.
It's a deliberation.
at all. You know, it's a the deliberation because we provide you with information all the time that, you know, in the broad spectrum of the board.
But
You
I
say
will
what?
agree. Yeah, I will agree. The sooner we get the information before the meeting, it would be
Yeah,
better.
But then the question becomes how
How much of it do we want?
and at what iteration do you want that? Because it's typical, and I know I would think, Kevin, I have kept myself at arm's distance,
Oh, yeah.
which is why Todd has been the
Correct.
communicator. But I would assume that Kevin would also say that it is most appropriate, and I would think it is typical to vet, you know, some of the numbers, you run those by, so what the board gets is not draft 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is the most correct iteration of that information, and I think that's really what it goes by, and it's down to, I think Todd has been able to, you know, even typos and things like that in an effort to provide the board with the purest and most correct information. That is the result of more than one iteration. So I don't know what else to say to that.
I think okay. Well, I think I've gotten direction on how we need to proceed. Again, we'll just caution everybody, and if you'll also just check for next week or next month, just to make sure. I think that'd be good. So, Kevin, you want to kick it off with the information that you forwarded, and we can. I think we'll probably have some questions and so forth about it going forward.
Sure, that sounds good. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So it might be easier. I don't know if you guys have it up on your screen, or if you want me to put it up and share screen and kind of flip you guys through it.
Do you care to
That might
share
be the
screen and
easiest
flip
way.
it through, please?
Yep. Okay, so the previous ask from you guys was to help you develop a framework, which essentially puts you in a position of being able to assess Greg's performance relative to the market, relative to his positioning, in an effort to kind of more or less quantitatively determine what the base salary adjustments should be each year. And so what we term that to be a merit matrix, and that's what we're going to talk through tonight, is kind of what it is, how it's structured, what kind of flexibility do you have within the program, et cetera. So I'm assuming, and apologies for getting it to you guys last night. I usually try to get things out sooner, but hopefully you've had some time to read through this and at least get a general lay of the land. But please feel free to interrupt me with questions along the way. So one thing to note, and I'm not going to belabor every single point here, but this framework is specifically associated with base salary. So this isn't anticipating like determining bonus amounts or anything of that nature. This is just essentially looking at base salary each year, and this is helping you guys work towards what that right number is and do it in a manner in which is defensible. So if there is ever any question, you can be transparent in terms of this is the structure that we utilize every year. We're consistent, we apply this, and this is how we come up with the base salary. So we're removing some of the discretionary aspects of this and the related exposure to the board in terms of when you just make a discretionary adjustment to base salary, that obviously increases risk from an external perspective. So this will help mitigate some of that exposure. So essentially what this is this program is going to, as I walk through this, it's going to look at where is Greg's salary at the meeting in which you're going to make the decision related to it, right? So the base salary at that current time relative to the base salary that you're targeting from a philosophical perspective. So we've talked about that before, and you guys are targeting 75th percentile based on Greg's tenure and experience at the company and his consistent performance track record. So it's kind of taking a look at current. It's also taking a look at how he relates to that current movement. It's taking a look at macroeconomic inflation metrics in the market, just trying to understand what's happening macroeconomically from a cost of living perspective. And then it's also looking at actual performance relative to a scorecard. And so when we think scorecard, we're thinking we're looking at multiple metrics, and we're going to be assessing those metrics relative to pre-established ranges of performance. And wherever they fall relative to those pre-established ranges that you guys would approve as a board, that will all be kind of weighted, averaged out into what a final outcome from a performance perspective will be. And I know it's a lot just to kind of conceptualize in your mind as I'm talking. I'm going to pull it up here on the screen in a second just to show you so you know what we're talking about. So any reference I make to KPIs, I did put a definition down there just so you know. KPI is a key performance indicator. Same thing as a metric, same thing as a goal, no different. Okay, so this process is going to have a couple of different steps to it. So with more quantitatively based programs comes a little bit more work in terms of trying to set the program up on the front side and then manage through that each year. So you do have to establish the inputs. A lot of those are just going to be kind of general inputs that current salary, et cetera. There are going to be some things related to KPIs themselves. So generally speaking, when we think through a KPI, we're usually being pretty consistent with that year over year, unless you're having major strategic shifts in the organization or you're wanting the focus of Greg and the team to be on something completely different than what they've historically been tasked with doing from a performance perspective. Those are cases where you may want to change KPIs on an annual basis. For the most part, we keep those relatively consistent. Also with that comes the weighting. So each performance measure will have its own weight. So you as a board will want to look at the weighting. Essentially, it's kind of the same thing with the KPIs. Generally speaking, you don't usually adjust those. If you do, it's relatively nominal. The other aspect that you will be looking at on an annual basis is more the performance goals aspect of it. And generally speaking, where your focus really is on budget. So we try to build ranges around each performance, but the anchor for each of those performance goals is budget. So whatever your kind of looking at from that perspective, or whatever management would propose as budget for that year from a performance perspective, you guys as a board would need to take a look at that and essentially give it a check mark that you agree. Then once we've established a structure on the front side, then it's kind of let the plan roll itself out, right? And so the management team's going to go about their business, and hopefully at the end of that performance period, they've done very well, but we're going to look at their performance relative to those goals that we've established. That's what's going to ultimately determine, from a merit perspective, what would be attributable to base salary. That kind of 2 and 3 kind of go together. We're measuring those results and scoring the performance. So all of that kind of works through the scorecard system. The secondary aspect of the program outside of the scorecard is, where does Greg's salary sit relative to the 75th percentile? So relative to that 75th percentile, we'll look at a scale, basically a matrix, and say, okay, well, if he's below the 75th percentile, he's going to potentially, based on his performance, get more of a salary increase than what the scorecard would say, or potentially less if he's already over the 75th percentile. So it's kind of a fluctuating system each year based on whatever market percentile has already been established for his particular position. So we look at both of those together, and basically the intersection of the merit and the intersection of the market positioning is where we make our salary action. That determines the salary action for you guys. So again, I'll kind of show you this in reality here in just a second in terms of how that works. I'll pause there because I talked a lot pretty quick. So any questions up to this point? Okay. And y'all are muted just in case you're trying to ask me something. Okay. So this is just kind of I'm not going to go through all of these. These are scorecard elements and kind of how we think about them, starting with KPIs, weightings, how we measure them relative to the scale, etc. So that's going to ultimately come out with a weighted average point system, which is going to be used to score the merit matrix scorecard. So I did mention performance goals a minute ago, and I did mention that we use budget as the anchor. So basically, budget would equate to what we're trying to target from a performance perspective. So when we think about budget and target, we're kind of also thinking about, okay, well, if we don't perform quite as well as we anticipated, we might still do something. It just depends on the magnitude of the miss relative to the stated budget. And so that's why we have this threshold. So there is a point at each metric where we would say performance lagged to a point where we don't feel that metric was sufficient to do anything from a recognition perspective or salary increase perspective. So there are thresholds that we'll talk about with each metric. Generally speaking, those are 80-85% of budget for each metric. We also establish stretch goals and what we deem to be exceptional goals, or essentially maximum opportunities. So again, it's a pretty symmetrical system. So if you think 80-85% threshold, you're thinking about 115 to 120% of budget on the exceptional side. And that will be a decision point for you guys as a board. So as I said, kind of generally, as you think about it, 80-85%, I've had a lot of organizations that really tighten that range, and they'll make it 90 to 110. But and I've had some that have widened the range off of that. So it kind of depends on what you guys want to do and what you feel is right and reasonable. But the foundation and the structure is there for you guys to make those decisions now. So here is the scorecard that we developed based on the information we received from Greg and Todd. So we looked at it and came up with what we thought would be good performance metrics, good KPIs, as well as what the targets would be for each of those various metrics. So you can see we kind of selected the actual weighting, we selected the metric itself, what's actually being measured, and then we're looking at those 6 metrics to assess performance on a weighted average basis. So you guys might look at these goals and say, we may or may not like these goals. I mean, obviously, like a customer service index might be one that, number one, you're going to have to survey the people that you serve, and you're going to have to get back results. Who knows if only the people that are dissatisfied are going to respond, or if those satisfied are too. So that might be a hard one to do. It may not. I'm not sure. That's something for you guys to discuss as a board and a management team. All that said, I think assuming you kind of stay at 6 or fewer metrics, I usually try to stay 3 to 5, 3 to 6, just to kind of keep it balanced, but also keep the weighting sufficient enough where they still matter and you're not diluting the impact by adding additional metrics. Any questions up to that point? Okay. So the market positioning, so this is what I talked about earlier. This would be Greg's salary relative to the 75th percentile. So you're kind of looking at this and say, okay, is he materially below target, which would imply greater salary increases in order to get him closer to that 75th percentile. And that'll be looked at in conjunction with performance. If he's already above target and his salary exceeds the 75th percentile, that might mean we're not doing anything necessarily from a merit perspective. It might just mean we're going to do COLA increases just to kind of keep them consistent, or it might mean board discretion because maybe some things have happened in which you guys still want to do something outside of the traditional COLA. But this essentially regulates you into different tiers based on where that market position would be. So this chart here will show you this is the intersection I was talking about here. So if we're saying that, for example, the market salary alignment here. So if market salary is below the 75th percentile, but performance is also below threshold across the board. So this would mean performance is really bad across all metrics, but he's still below the 75th percentile. There could be no merit, but it also could be a limited merit increase just to kind of still recognize some things that happen. Maybe it's major macroeconomic issues that are driving down performance, something along those lines, right? So this is, like I said, kind of regulating that. On the other side, you see like exceptional performance, but he's still above target. This would tell you maybe we need to do something moderately, but we're not in a position where we need to make vast improvements in salary because we're already where we want to be from a market positioning perspective. But performance was exceptional across the board, and we feel like we need to do something in addition to COLA. And then the chart here kind of shows you what that looks like in terms of practical percentages. So this would be the application of that matrix. So you can kind of see the various merit increases. Again, keep in mind, this is above COLA. So if we kind of look at cost of living in your area and you say in 2027, it's 3%, and we have a merit that says 2%, then we're going to give Greg a 5% increase because we have the merit at 2%, COLA at 3%. Okay, so that's basically what I just said here. And this next chart is we're kind of taking and aggregating COLA and the KPI merit increase to get your total salary increase. Okay. And this is just more or less the governance, kind of the cycle aspect of it. I won't go through all this. You guys kind of know how the process would work and kind of when you need to do things. But we just put that here more for your information than anything else. I'll pause here for a quick sec for questions, and then I've also got, I'll kind of pop up these spreadsheets just to kind of show you guys what we've developed for you guys to utilize that'll help you be able to just kind of plug and play and see what this looks like each year.
Any questions so far on the board? All right, go ahead, Kevin.
Sounds good. Okay. So the 2026 example. So what I tried to do here, and let me make this a little bigger. What we tried to do here was say, even though you already made your adjustment for 2026, if you hadn't made your adjustment and you had this in front of you to utilize as a tool, then what would have been the outcome of the process? And so what we did is we took Greg's salary at the time you guys made the adjustment in July. Pre-adjustment salary. We assumed a 3% COLA. We said, okay, market 75th percentile is about 452. And then we looked at the scorecard. So I'm going to flip the scorecard really quick and I'll come back here. So we looked at the scorecard and said, based on all of the goals that we talked about a minute ago, we put some performance outcomes in there, measured against the scale that we built, and came up with the score, which ended up being an exceptional on the performance category. So from a merit matrix perspective, what happened there is it said, well, you're modestly below the target because you were about 3.3% below the 75th percentile. So you're close, but you're not quite there. So there needs to be some increase from that perspective, and you also performed exceptionally. So what that means is you got the 3% COLA, cost of living increase, plus a 4.3% merit based on the performance scorecard, which would have meant a 7.3% increase for Greg in July, which would have equated to a $469,000 base salary based on the results of the performance and market positioning matrix.
Just real quick, can you hear us, Kevin? I know.
Yes.
So I see on line 17 where it says a $31,700 difference. I find it mind-blowing that we just had public comment, and we just got this last night, that she came in here with a rumor that we were discussing a $31,000 increase. So someone in this process is talking outside of this process. That's ridiculous. And I don't know who it is, but it's unacceptable. And Kevin, this is just an aside, because I haven't even looked at the documents yet because they came in overnight. Right. So I had no idea what $31,000 she was talking about. That's crazy. Yep. I digress.
Yeah. So basically, Kevin, the reason you did
Yeah.
this was to show, had we had this data for 2026, this is a sample of how that could have played out had we put that in place this time last year or at the beginning of the year, and therefore it played forward. And this was just a sample. It was not a recommendation because we voted on that last month.
That is correct. This is just a sample of the outcome.
Okay.
And I do think it's important too, because I mentioned there are a lot of different knobs to turn, levers to pull in this whole thing, right? Because we kind of talked about, okay, well, what's the budget we want to set for something? We can also, or you guys as a board, to look at this merit matrix and make adjustments to these percentages. So you can move them up, move them down, whatever you want to do to refine this scale. This is a pretty common scale. This is what we use for most clients in terms of just what is normal in this process. But if you look at this and you just say, well, I feel like that's too high, maybe you need to bump it down 1% or 0.5% or whatever that might be. So I just want to put that out there as this is something that can also be changed. So there's a lot of different ways to tweak this program.
Yeah, and I mean, the other part of this too is typically the general manager has gotten the COLA, so that's off the table. This process. I mean, this process is really just to help give us more quantitative approach to is he eligible or should be eligible for a merit increase based on performance, as opposed to us just arbitrarily picking a number. So, and we've seen the increases that we've done before around that. So we're not necessarily proposing that hey, next year we're going to set it at 10 or 15 or 20%. This is just merely to adjust the merit side of his potential compensation. So.
That is correct. Yeah, and I think it's important to note too, you as a board do have ultimate discretion. So this is intended as a tool. This is not intended to dictate what you do. So you might see a 4.3% on the merit, and maybe you've received some comment of dissatisfaction, and you decide to bump that down a little bit, or maybe you feel like it's not enough, and you decide to bump that up a little bit. That's your call as a board. At the end of the day, this is just to serve as essential, like I said, a tool to help guide you through that process.
Thank you.
Certainly. So we also provided the 2027 file as well, so you can kind of see now current, sorry, small again, I'm sure. You can see current base salary at 450, market 75th hasn't moved at this particular point. That'll need to be looked at again come next July 27. But we basically gave you a blank file from which to work, so you can plug in your targets, plug in your outcomes, and kind of see where things go. But this will be used for the 2027 increase.
Same template just for this upcoming year. So any questions, comments of Kevin, discussion points? So I think, my intent of this was to get the information out to y'all tonight or last night. Apologize for the lateness. Have the ability for y'all to get it now, digest it, try. I mean, if we what we tried to do, and it took us a while, but what we tried to do is figure out. Let's figure out whether or not our general manager was being compensated against the market and what was there. I think from a base salary perspective, we had done that. What we debated last month and actually the prior month was what's an appropriate merit adjustment. And so we came back with, hey, here's a quantitative approach for how to do that so that this board can decide, hey, if we want to next month, we should set X amount as a target as a potential merit. And then based on the criteria and the formula, that's what he's eligible for. He may get half of it, he may get none of it. But so what we try to do is make it more analytical. And I think it will be much easier for the people to have to go through the painstaking things sometimes that we've had to the last few years to get there and all the questions. It's market driven, it's analytical, it's a reasonable number. We still have the other compensation is still out there. We haven't touched that, but we know that we consciously made that decision. That's fine. But I do think this is at least a better way to do this going forward than the ways that we have done it in the past or not done it at all, basically. So anyway, any other questions or comments about this? Would you all like for Kevin possibly to come back again next month for if we have a discussion put on the agenda for next month? Would that be helpful in case we have any questions, or you think we've got it?
Might be a question for Jim. He's the only one.
Yeah, he might need. Yeah, Kevin, if you could, maybe we invite you back next month. We'll put this on the agenda for more discussion, and Jimmy will be back, and he might have a question or two. But anyway, we good?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Mr. Crowley, y'all good down there? Good. All right, guys. Hey, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you.
Great. Thanks, guys. Good to see you all.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too. Let me go back to the original question we had about the data and so forth. And then Mr. McNally's comment. Do you want me to continue to send it to everyone in advance of the meeting? Because it was a very limited pool of people that we got the email. So,
Well, I'll say this. I happen to know that Ms. Davis had a discussion with the mayor today. So somehow the mayor got wind that we were voting on something that we were not voting on today. It's not on the agenda. I didn't even know what the amount was because I hadn't even read those emails yet. But somehow, politically, it's gotten out into the community. So there's a problem.
do y'all have do you want me to continue to send emails with
I
that?
don't think it hurts to send them out, really. I mean,
Okay.
we've discussed.
Transparent. The reason I did it, and part of the reason, to be honest with you, part of the reason I copied Greg and Todd, I want transparency from me.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I don't want to be
We don't have anything to hide, just.
small
We don't
town.
have anything to hide from the public either.
No, I agree.
So I don't mind the public knowing what we're
No,
talking about.
not at all. I don't. Part of it has been I didn't want to be. I mean, there's
I
been
don't know
no.
how they got it, but
Yeah,
I don't mind it,
Well, there's been enough shots at me too that I copy them because I want people to see what I'm doing. So there's not a question either. So, anyway. Okay. we'll continue on then. Approval of vouchers.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the monthly reports.
I'm gonna turn that over to
Thanks, sir.
Dusty if you don't care.
Yeah, I'd be glad to talk about that. On the electric update, electric department finished the year very successfully with a positive net margin of just over $300,000 for the month and $3.3 million year to date. This exceeded our forecast, 2026 forecast, by $1,258,000. July was a very warm month with an average temperature of about 80.8 degrees, as well as 19 days where the high temperature exceeded 90 degrees. This was slightly above the 15-year average, but less than July of 2025. This resulted in a load factor of 61% for July 2026. Any questions on electric? Water and sewer update. So, water and sewer department reports in your packets are preliminary. We are working with the city and the state to finalize numbers for the downtown streetscapes project, which may require an adjustment to our June water and sewer financials, most likely in our receivables plan or capital contributions. Had a conversation with Gail Cook today. She's been very helpful throughout this process. We're really waiting on the state to finalize some of these numbers. I think she's been waiting on some information from the contractor to be able to do that. She mentioned setting up a conference call with the state next week to try to finalize those, which I offered that Greg Jones and I could be available to help with those if necessary. But we're waiting on those numbers before I can give you a final June water and sewer number. But so far, we're showing a positive change in net assets for June of $49,085. And year to date, we're sitting at almost $1.4 million for fiscal year 2026. Once I'm able to finalize those results, I will send those out to you all via email.
Thank you, sir.
So we would approve these and then approve the preliminary, and then if there's an adjustment to water and sewer, we come back and reapprove those next month, or do you want us to defer approving these tonight on the water and sewer?
Well, I think it would be worthwhile to defer the approval of that week.
Of the water and sewer.
Because the alternative is to set this and then have an adjustment to the audit, which we prefer not to do.
Correct.
And we'll hold off through no fault of of anybody.
No, that's correct.
There is that information is not available, and we can't pull a number out of the sky that we think will be the number that the state's going to hit.
So do you want us to go ahead and approve electric?
Approve electric, please, and
Okay.
if we can defer approval
Okay.
for water and sewer until next month, that would be great.
So we need a motion to approve electric, and we are deferring water and sewer this evening until we get the final number.
So moved.
Mr. Crowley, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. McNally, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Project status report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are now, tracking and have been tracking several, and I'll start with Todd with electric, if you don't care to share.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Yeah, as you see there, we got two projects now on the electric side we're tracking here. We started in July. Both these projects are going very well. One over on Coconut Lane in Claxton, and the other one in Toccoa Hills area upgrade. Both are going very well. 50-60% complete on those, and both of them should be completed here on time and scheduled in the next 2 months.
Thank you, Todd. Greg, other than the fact that we don't have the numbers we need yet to close out streetscapes, that everything else seems to be going fine. I haven't heard any complaints about odor or manholes or anything.
That's true. Everything's fine.
Well, see, Todd, that's how you do it.
He just can't get his numbers in. That's the only problem.
That's
If you
right.
get your numbers in, you'd be in great shape.
Yeah.
Just say no news, good news.
Hey, yes, sir.
All right, moving on to approval of purchase order.
Yes, sir. We've got a aerial cable wire quote for $168,774. We recommend to Border States as the best bid, and I recommend that the board approve the wire quote of $168,774.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? And the next work order, sir.
This is a part of our upgrade into Caney Holler Road, and it is a budgetary item, and it is, Todd, if you want to speak to it,
Yes, sir. Sure, be glad to. This replaces about 7/10 of a mile of old number 6 copper primary neutral conductors out of Haney Hollow and Oliver Springs area. Located well off the road, out in the middle of the woods, bunch of pine trees. Historically, a really problem area for us. Rebuild that with number 2 ACSR primary neutral conductors, get it to the road for more higher reliability and everything. The original number I had in the capital budget for this year was 200,000. After all our final engineering with 10% contingency, we're 211, which primarily was a little more right of way than what I initially anticipated. Just lots of trees to cut still even along the road.
Any questions for Mr. Logan? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Mr. Curley, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Harrell. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Item number 9, review the CUB self-funded health benefits plan and wellness program.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to say that Dusty now is trying to move into, I can make a better graphic than you. And we now have enhanced and improved graphics for our self-funded plan. And Dusty, I'll just congratulate you, and you can explain to the board the kind of shape that we're in and the good news.
I
on this
appreciate
program.
that, but I cannot compete with the king over there on the graphics. This is a review of our self-funded health plan. So just to recap, a self-funded health plan means that instead of paying a fully insured premium to Blue Cross Blue Shield, we pay them an administrative fee. We pay for stop-loss insurance, and then we pay for claims ourselves. So instead of paying an insurance premium to Blue Cross, and where they pay all the rest of it and then keep the rest for themselves, we fund it ourselves, which we've been doing for, I don't know how long, Greg, a very long
Since
time.
1984.
Since 1984, which has been fantastic for us. So on this slide, what you'll see is what CUB contributes this year. So this past year, we set aside about $3.23 million in insurance contributions to be sure that we could cover all these things, claims, admin, excess risk. And then the actual plan cost, when you add those expenses up, was about $2.45 million, which results in about a net savings of $775,000 for CUB versus going out and purchasing a fully insured insurance plan. The bottom chart on this slide walks through where the money went. So we started the year with $2.66 million in reserve. We added $3.26 million in deposits and COBRA premiums. And then we paid out about $2.12 million in claims, $131,000 in administrative fees, and $199,000 for stop loss, and ended at a reserve of about $3.47 million. This has been very successful for us over the years. We did not do it this year, but in past years we've been able to contribute some of those funds back to the general fund. So on slide 2, or any questions about slide 1 before I move on?
Can you talk a little bit more about why you didn't transfer it over to the general fund?
We didn't need
Didn't need
it
it?
this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
so we're sitting on a very healthy reserve. It's available if we need it, but there's no reason to move it if we don't need it. So, slide 2. This slide breaks down what we spend on over the last 3 years: medical, prescription drugs, stop loss, admin, and dental. This year total, we spent about $2.45 million against a 3-year average of about $2.14 million. Medical is by far our biggest piece at about $1.64 million, roughly 2/3 of the total. That's where most of this year's increase came from. Everything else stayed pretty flat. One thing to keep in mind is that claims can vary quite a bit from year to year. So even though this year came in above our 3-year average, I wouldn't necessarily expect that trend to continue. It's also worth noting that prescription drug numbers here are already net of the rebates we get back. So that's our true net cost. even with the cost up this year, we still spent well under what we contributed to the plan. Any questions about this slide?
Questions?
I'll move
Just,
on.
just one comment.
Yeah.
I just, while we're sitting here, back to Greg's point about 1984. Had we been spending $1 million a year in 1984, right, and been on a fully insured plan as opposed to self-funded, it's cumulative, right? So if you get a 5% increase one year, you're starting at 105% the next year, and you add another 5. And so if we'd had a 5% increase, which is not unheard of at all in health insurance, that is nothing in health insurance. We've been paying $4.5 million in today's dollars had we not gone self-insured. So it's resulting in about a $2 million a year savings by not being fully insured, because it's just like your retirement income. The more you put in, you get that interest, and then the next year you earn interest on the interest. So I applaud, because a lot of companies our size in this range may or may not choose to do that. Usually the threshold is about 100 to 125 employees is where you will go self-funded. So people don't like doing it. Everybody else at 200 above, they'll always do it. This was a very long-standing smart decision, because you saved probably, well, at least this year, been $2 million. You've saved money every year because you're not paying that premium to Blue Cross and them just compounding it. So I just pointing that out, but that's the cumulative effect of compounding.
Where we started to track that too, Steve, is it hasn't been but maybe 10 or 11 years ago, because from 84 on, the only thing we tracked was the expense.
Right.
And we didn't fund it
Sure.
according to being self-insured. And finally we figured, well, we need to show that there's a dichotomy between what a fully funded, because we look at that every year. We ask Blue Cross, because if it ever makes more sense in terms of cost to cover to be fully insured than to self-insure, because this number includes the insurance for the aggregate,
Your aggregates and the reinsurance.
the individual.
Yep, that's right.
So it's actual total cost to fund this program, and then you put administrative and you put premiums and claims to that. So yeah, it's worked really well for us, and part of the reason is this next slide, in my opinion.
Well, and just if you go back to the previous side where you have $3.5 million in reserve, you're funded for the next year and a half.
That's correct.
That's the other side of it. The plan's already funded.
That's correct.
And so that's been a cumulative effect. So I just sometimes, having been in this industry for a while, sometimes you just need to point that out, because that's a hidden savings that we've achieved. Well, it's not hidden, but
Well, by not charging our people an amount, some do that so much a month, there is no incentive to use, because if you're paying $500 a month for coverage for your spouse or your children, in addition, there is almost, well, I'm going to get everything I can for the $500 that I'm paying, and the fact that there isn't that. I know people have refused MRIs because they're not convinced that it's worth the money to get that done, depending on whatever the outcome is. If it's this or this, what are you going to do different? So that makes the difference. But the best money we spend, the best money, in my opinion, is this next slide, which is 19,000 something. Is right, Dusty? Are you going to talk about?
yeah, go ahead.
that?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this slide goes over our wellness program. So through our Covenant Health Wellness program, this year we have 5 activities that we've completed with very good turnout. So we've had 116 folks complete an annual health survey, 104 completed a blood draw, 101 to participate in the biometrics, and then we also have some that participate in the medic blood drive, as well as the mammography screenings. And we've got a couple of things left this year. Also, we always do virtual education, things that go over, how to eat well, how to exercise, have very good participation in that. And then we'll have flu shots, and then we'll have our wrap-up meetings at the end of the year. This is a small investment in prevention and catching things early. Over the years, we've had several people catch things that they weren't aware of, that they're able to modify their behavior or get treated appropriately to be sure that it doesn't become a bigger problem later which goes back to the first slide and helping us build that reserve and keeping those claims down from year to year. So we're very proud of this program. We're very proud of the participation that we have from our employees.
That's great. Questions on that?
Some of our supermen, the only time they see anybody that's medical is this right here, because we bring them out here, you know, and the blood draw is just tremendous because it screens. We try to screen everything, and it flags, and we don't get that information, but the individual gets the information, flags that they can do follow-ups on. So it's the best. That's $12,000. It's the
It's
the
great.
best.
That's great. Anything else on that? Good report. All right.
Mhm.
Mr. General Manager, other business?
No, sir, none.
All right. Any other questions, board member comments, et cetera? All right. Move adjourned.
So moved.
All right. Meeting adjourned.